All right, welcome to my stream. So, in these practice with me drumming sessions, I'm going to try and share what I do when I practice and show all the mistakes, all the things that I try and do to work through those mistakes and try and improve my playing and whatnot. So, this is very much just kind of showing my process. Hopefully, it will help you with your own practicing. So, if you're watching this live, feel free to ask some questions. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, feel free to put some questions in the comments and I can respond to them in a future stream. All right, so when I'm doing this, my goal is to just kind of have some fun and remain positive. It was very nerve-wracking when I first started doing this, but this has actually been a really good practice tool for me to hold me accountable with actually practicing, and then also to make it so that I get more comfortable with making mistakes, because I am definitely a perfectionist with my playing. All right, so yesterday, the setup was a little bit different, and hopefully this will allow you to see a little bit better, and I actually have it so you can hear the microphone this time, so details. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate the same warm-up approach that I did yesterday. So I mentioned that you can do like Jojo Mayer's, just like clapping like this, kind of get your wrist going. What I actually like to do is knock on basically my practice pad. So some people will do it to where they knock where it's like their forearm is flat. I don't really like that because it doesn't really allow for as much wrist motion to go down. It allows you to move the wrist up, but not necessarily down when you lift up because you're kind of in the way. So I like the freeform arm motion or wrist motion. So I just knock like this. Okay, so I'm going to start at 90. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did yesterday. So I'm going to do 16th note pyramid. So it starts with alternating. Then you go to double strokes, then 4 strokes, 8, 16, 32, 64. Okay? And then you can repeat that or you can stop that. All right, so 1, 2, here I go. One entire measure. 2 measures. Four measures. Oops. All right, so yeah, I was thinking about what I should say, and then I screwed up. All right, so now I want to demonstrate another technique that I shared yesterday. Hopefully this camera angle will be a little bit better. So I've heard it referred to as like praying mantis approach, but you can also call it like T-Rex approach. But basically, if you were to take a string and attach it to your wrist and just lift straight up and just kind of let your wrist hang there while still holding this up, that's basically the technique that I'm going to use. So it forces you to kind of like isolate the wrist muscles while you're moving. I never took anatomy, so please correct me with this. But basically, it's going to make it so you have stronger taps, and it helps with like the wrist strength and whatnot for specifically the anterior or the lower notes. So that's why I'm a fan of this. And I learned this from Murray Gussick. Okay, so I'm going to go at a side angle so you can see this a little bit better, but I'll do the exact same exercise as before. All right, 1, 2, ready, and... All right, now I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So I'll do it at 100, and then after I do that, I'm going to stretch and massage. All right, so first I'll do the wrists again, wrist only. 1, 2, here I go. Right, by the way, that wrist approach of just warming up using only your wrist is excellent, especially if you are on tour, like performing on a drumline or something, and you don't have the opportunity to actually warm up on your drums. So you might be on a tour bus and you're like, hey, we're late because of whatever reason, like flat tire or something. Then you need to be able to get ready to perform. So this is a great way to just kind of warm up, just like playing like this, or however you want to do that. Another way you can do it is also taking your sticks and playing this way. So you're playing on the underside of your forearms. And again, you're just doing the wrist motion. And if you're doing traditional grip, you can do it like this. So here's what that sounds like. So I'm just playing on the top and then on the bottom. Don't play too hard with the accents or it's going to hurt. Trust me. All right, so now I'm going to do this praying mantis style. And 1, 2, here I go. All right. And I see somebody join me while doing that, and I think that's kind of funny because probably like, what is this person doing? They have no idea how to play. Watch the beginning of the video. Leave that as a teaser for you. Okay, so now that I've kind of done a little bit of my warm-up, the first half of it, I'm going to stretch. So I'm going to hold my sticks like this. I'm going to pull in and then follow with the other arm. This gives it a nice good stretch. And yesterday when I was playing, I had a freshly pulled muscle in my shoulder, so my upper body was pretty tight, but today it's doing a little bit better after icing and heating it, so hopefully I don't need to stretch as much today. Every day is different when you're doing this. If you play traditional, by the way, here's another good one you can do to get that rotation, and then go the opposite direction. But I'm not playing traditional. All right, so now stretching out the palms. I pull them back on them, on the fingers, and stretches the underside of the forearm. That one's pretty good today. And to anyone who is watching this live or after the fact, feel free to ask me some questions. If you're watching this on YouTube, just post it in the comments and I'll address it in a future stream. If you're watching it live, feel free to chat with me right now. But my goal for this session is to just focus on accents and taps. So yesterday I was doing some triplet grid variations. Today I'll be doing some 16th note variations just to see if the relaxed accents and taps applies with what I'm doing in my playing. All right, so after I've stretched the forearms, the tops and the bottom of them, I like to stretch the fingers. Just kind of push them against each other. Goes twice as fast this way. By the way, another thing that you could do if you wanted to go twice as fast with the stretches, you could do it like this, or you could go up to a wall and do both of them at the same time. Okay. So now after I stretch, I like to massage. So I'm gonna massage the top part with my thumb, and then I will do the underside with my fingers underneath. And I'll kind of wrap around. And then sometimes I'll go higher if it's tighter in the bicep or tricep or shoulder or wherever. Because I don't know about you, but I want to be able to drum for a long time. So I want to make sure that I stay nice and loose when I'm playing. I don't want to damage myself. So back when I did not have a super refined technique, I actually ended up like popping a vein. So like this exploded and like it was all really dark. I had tendinitis signs, some like early signs of getting arthritis and whatnot. And so what I started to do was look at my technique and try and figure out what can I do to get rid of that sharp pain that I was feeling while playing. And so really relax my fingers and my wrists and my arms and whatnot. And then I also would ice my forearms and my fingers and stuff every single night, or I would like lay with like my arms up in the air to help like the blood drain and whatnot. But the other thing that was helpful was doing these massaging and stretching and whatnot. So I actually went to a specialist when I got an injury in my arm where like my elbow filled up with like fluid, and the doctors have no clue what it was, but it basically prevented me from being able to drum for more than a month. And that's not good when you're on a performance scholarship in college, because you kind of need to be able to practice. So that was my big like wake up call of, wow, I really need to focus on just like hand health and whatnot. And so I've been doing these stretches, massages ever since incidents like those. Continue to refine it. So if you have some really good stretches and ways to play nice and relaxed or stay nice and relaxed while you practice, please let me know. I want to learn them. So what I'm doing right now is just kind of massaging from the base to the fingertip. So I do this a couple of times on each finger, depends on how they're doing. Okay. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go faster. Still doing my warm-up. So we'll try 110. And I'm going to go back to wrist only. And I'll go to the side view so you can see it a little bit better. 1, 2, here I go. All right, so now I'm going to do it with a T-Rex or praying mantis approach. All right, 1, 2, here I go. All right, a little late on that release. Okay, so now I'm going to play with actual drumming technique, but I'm focusing specifically on playing with the wrist. So I'm not using finger here. I'm not going to, nothing like that. So not using that technique. It's all wrist. So I'll actually take my fingers off the stick so you can see that it's this wrist motion that's moving up and down while I'm playing and not going like that with my fingers. Okay. I'm going to try this at 120. All right, so that's the basic approach that I'm trying to focus on, is that all wrist motion. Now, if I play with like full fingers on the stick and playing with a little bit of finger technique, then it's so much easier to just like be able to play nice and relaxed while playing continuous 16th notes on your hand. Okay, so that was my warm-up for the day. Now what I want to actually focus on are just continuing to relax my accents and taps. So as I mentioned yesterday on the stream, that I think of accents and taps having kind of like 4 different variations. So I was taught this by somebody who studied with Paul Rennick, so they learned this from them. So you have upstrokes, so we start up and you end up like this. You have downstrokes, where you start up and you end down. So whenever you're doing those strokes, you are simply stopping your wrist from moving back up. So you're just doing this while keeping your fingers relatively open when you start, and then you simply just close them. You're not squeezing them, so you're not going and then squeezing like this. You're just simply starting open to get that nice big full height sound, and then you're just simply closing that space, not tightening, just closing. Okay, so those are the first 2 strokes. The next stroke is just a down, down. So the goal is to kind of get your fingers to get out of the way on these strokes, where you start down and end down, while allowing them to still kind of vibrate or tickle your inside of your palm. And this is a nice relaxed technique. And you can check out the stick hum video on my website that explains that. And then the last stroke is where you start down and you end up. So you go down to up. And so on this one, you actually have to do the lift, so you're not relying on the rebound to get back up. And so you are striking the stick and then pulling up to get up to an upstroke. Okay, so starting low, getting high, and kind of opening the fingers just a little bit to allow some more space for the stick to get that full height. Okay, so again, up, up. We have up, down. We have down, down, and then we have down, up. Those are the 4 strokes. Okay, so while I'm playing through these grid variations, I want to focus on those staying nice and relaxed. All right, so let me share what I'm looking at. And I'm going to paste this in the chat. So yesterday, the one that I was doing were the sticking variations for triplet grid, but today I'm going to do the 16th note sticking variations. And by the way, the stick hum video that I was mentioning is this one. So what does relaxed drumming technique sound like? It's like 2.5 minutes long, something like that. And it explains it and demonstrates it. All right. Excuse me, a hiccup. So I'm going to start with alternating downstrokes sticking. Let's make this full screen. Yep, 1080. But that's clearly not 1080. Now, when I go into the description, there are timestamps for each one of these. And so I'm going to start off, I don't know, let's try 60. I haven't done this one yet, so I don't know if this is a good speed or not. We'll find out. Okay. So overall, that I was having like a little bit of anxiety about my left hand accents because I was afraid I was going to actually hit the mic stand right here. So I'm experimenting with this different setup, and I think I might need to actually raise this a little bit more, but then it gives me the problem of like this blocks my view of the screen. So That's something for me to figure out later on. Okay, so while I was doing that, my accents were a little too forced. So I want to make sure that when I'm playing any of these downstrokes that I'm just simply pulling back and then letting the weight of the stick and the hand just kind of do the accent for me. So I don't need to go in and like really spank the drum, which I can clearly get a lot more sound out of it. But the way I'm practicing right now is how I want to play this fast. So if this is the like performance tempo, then fine. You can smack that drum as much as you want. But because I'm trying to practice quickly, how I practice when I'm at a faster BPM, like 2 or 3 times the speed, then I want it to be nice and relaxed. And so I don't want to be like really squeezing in every one of those notes and forcing them and whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to do this again, and I'm just going to let it go with 61 because I don't feel like this is really good enough for me to move up quite yet. Okay, so while I was playing through that, I noticed that my accents were better. However, the second note was a little too soft. So it was like, started to do a little bit of that. So I was correcting for it. And by the time I got to like the second line, then it was much improved. All right, let me adjust this. Hear this a little better. Oops. Man, I'm just messing up all over the place. So I was really just focusing on my accents and taps, and it just like messed up because I don't have this one memorized. I just screwed up. So, oh well, that was a mental brain fart, and I know it's only gonna do that whenever I'm not paying attention, so I'm not worried about necessarily staying at that speed to continue to work on that. All right, so let's try this at 80 now. By the way, so because I know that that was a mental thing and it was like a one-off thing, I'm not working on it. And this is something that I had to consider when I worked with drum lines. So I needed to figure out what is a consistent mistake and what was simply a brain fart that like probably won't happen again. So when working with a line, if you hear a mistake, you don't need to stop for it every single time. You only need to stop for it and work through it when it consistently happens every single time. But if it's just a one-off like brain fart, then just relax. Mistakes happen. The goal is to try and minimize them, but we don't need to sit there and work on something when it was like literally just like, oh, you're thinking about what kind of food you're going to eat for dinner, as opposed to thinking about the exercise you're playing. Okay. Pro tip. Yeah, so again, mental. So what I was thinking of in there is I was going, oh, wow, I can actually feel the stick hum vibrating way more. And I stopped really paying attention to what I was reading, and I messed up. So, oops. Okay, let's go a little bit faster. I know it's just a focus mistake. I'm glad my accents and taps are the work that I did yesterday is carrying over into this. Sometimes you take a step back, sometimes you don't. That time was just not counting to 5. One of those days, apparently. All right, let's try this at 100. I want to try and find my breaking point more where my technique does not feel relaxed, it doesn't feel effortless while playing. And then that can give me some hints on some things to practice. Ugh, I need to do that again. Focus. It's a counting issue for me, not a technique issue. Let's try this at 120. Let's see if this will create a technique issue. That created a whole bunch of issues. All right, so that was too fast. So I found a breaking point for me, so now I'm gonna work my way back. And let's try 115. So my left hand in particular was slowing down, and then I was, again, just losing count. Late. Okay, so first of all, I was late on the attack. Second of all, I'm noticing that my left hand taps are higher than my right hand taps, so I've been trying to focus on that the last couple of times. And then third of all, this 5 in a row, and then the left hand, I'm slowing down on that. So I need to work on that. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time at 116. can't count today. Let's try this again. Okay, so I think that's like right on the cusp of playing wise where I'm able to handle this. So I'm going to try going faster again and then see what happens with my technique. Because again, it can inform what I practice next time. Okay, so let's try like a definite technique break. Should be at 125, considering 120 was not so great. Okay, actually better than I thought it was going to be, but like technique was not great and sound quality was not as great as I'd like it to be. So they're definitely like, that would not be what I want to perform with, performance-wise on that tempo. Okay, so I found a breaking point for me, and what I would focus on if I were to continue working on that specific things, like next time, is I'd focus on really trying to have those consistent taps, because it kind of had a little bit of like a decrescendo approach. So it was like... as opposed to, okay, all consistent on low notes. Now, that was working on like the up-down strokes and down-down strokes, but now I want to do upstrokes sticking. So same idea, but now it's going to invert the sticking. So not 720, and let's start at 60 again. Okay, I'm going to do this again, one click faster, just trying to stay nice and relaxed, keep everything nice and even and balanced. Okay, pretty good with staying consistent and relaxed. So I'm going to go faster. And this one for me is harder, the upstrokes. I have a tendency to get too tight on upstrokes, just squeeze them in a bit too much. So I'm not going to go quite as fast, as quickly as I was on the previous one. I can't count. I was too busy thinking about how my stick was just like slowly going up like that. And so I was like having to manually move it back down my hand. Then I mess up the count. I can't count today, apparently. I need to go back to school. Something's rattling every now and then. Hopefully you can't hear it. Bad attack. I noticed I was playing the accents too heavily. So I'm trying to relax them. Okay, that got significantly better. If you heard it from beginning to end and pay attention to it, it relaxed a lot. Okay, I gotta do that again. It's inconsistent. I kept forgetting when it was a 5, when it was a 4. Mainly on the left. Here. Man, just not getting it today. Blurry. Okay. That was better. I'm gonna go to 90. Only a little bit faster. Again, I'm trying to not squeeze out those accents too much. I want to stay relaxed. I have even, consistent taps. Okay, do it again. Too many brain farts in there. Okay, that was better. So I'm going to speed it up. Let's try 100. I think I'm actually getting close to my breaking point, both in terms of like my technique, staying nice and relaxed, and in terms of my ability to think straight. All right, 100. little late. Okay, let's try this again, hopefully with a better attack. Nope, a little late. Okay. That was a little bit better, other than the brain fart. I think it was on line 2. I want to find my breaking point here with my technique, so I'm going to go 10 clicks faster than when I started at. Okay, gonna try this at 111. Okay. I still feel like it's not great, but I haven't really like reached the point where I'm just like, I can't do this. So I'm gonna try 120 now. 125, but the other one was my breaking point, so this is probably gonna be it. That one was just simply miscounting it, not a technique breaking point. So I'm gonna try faster. That actually went better than I thought it would, if I'm being completely honest. It wasn't great, but like, it was fine. Yeah, those 5s in a row. Ooh, my hands were like, no, stop. Okay, that's definitely my breaking point, especially for that very last line. All right, so let's try a different grid variation. And we're going to do Paradiddle. Because why not? Book reports. Trying to stay nice and relaxed. A little early on my attack. Trying to get even more relaxed than I was just playing. A little late on that release. Okay, so not relaxed enough. Or still kind of forcing in those accents. Whoops. Okay. Better with not being too tight on the accents and taps. I'm going to try a larger jump here. As I say, I got about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure I do some chop out stuff. Okay, so while I was doing that, I was really trying to focus on just getting that stick hum with my playing. You'll notice I'm over-enunciating that word now because I got some feedback on social media that the words stick hum sounded like something different than what I intended. Look it up, it's funny. Oops. Okay, I need to do that again. What I like subconsciously did was paradiddles on the accents. I actually like that variation. That's interesting. I'm gonna write that down. Pardon me. Because I don't want to forget it. I think that's a fun variation. Okay. So, stay tuned for that variation to come out on my channel. It's gonna be a while, though. It's gonna be a while, and the reason why is because I've got several other things that are coming out, like over the next few weeks, that I've been working on, so you'll eventually see it. I need to try this again. My speaking threw me off. Ooh. Okay, I need to try this again. I'm getting too tight. Mental. My game is so off today. Okay, 'Cause I don't want to forget it. I think that's a fun variation. Okay, try this at 103. See how it goes. Okay, so I'm getting lost in some of the patterns where I'm forgetting like, oh, what's the accent that's coming up? And so that's where it's screwing me up. So this is something that I need to continue to work on. So maybe I'll do that next Saturday. So I've only got a few minutes left, so I want to chop out. So let's go back here. And again, I'll post this in the live chat. Anyone who's watching right now, and then it'll be in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be down below. Take you to this page. Okay, so last time I did some shut cheese grid. Let's do this one. You know what? Swiss drag. Swiss drag on 1. So Swiss drag is a fun little rudiment where you've got a flam drag sound, except you're doing right, right, left sticking, which is the Swiss sticking. So this one is going to be quite the right hand workout. See how I do it off the left. Oops. Technique-wise, it was fine. Just mentally, I just had a brain fart. Theme of the day. Okay, so that was not a breaking point for me. I want to chop out with this. I'm specifically going to focus on my right-hand version. Okay, I want to try that again. Staying relaxed. Okay, let's try 140. Maybe I should do it off the left. So interestingly, what I noticed was tightening up was a little bit my hand, but also my jaw. So it's something to check in with when you're playing is not just like what are my fingers, wrists, and arms doing, but also like think of, okay, are my knees locking up, which some students will do. Like the student that passed out in another stream that I talked about, it's because their knees were locking up. Sometimes toes will clench. Sometimes it might be shoulders will raise, etc. So really check in with yourself and try and figure out what is tight right now when I'm practicing. And then just kind of like sit with it and breathe and try and stay nice and relaxed. So I'm going to do that at 141. Okay. Let's try 150. Nope, not 200. I mean, maybe we'll try that just for the lulz. Okay. My arm is definitely getting tired. 160. Still not the breaking point yet, though. Woo! Let's try that again. Yeah, it's the accent on the second note. That's where it gets me. Woo-wee. All right, so I definitely found my breaking point. And I'm right at the 1 hour mark with my stream. So that's what I wanted to do for the day. Cool. So hopefully this, despite all my mess ups mentally, just like not being super focused, hopefully me kind of demonstrating yesterday and today how I am working through my accents and taps, trying to keep things nice and relaxed and consistent and whatnot. Hopefully that helps. If not, hopefully the resources on my website help, because I know there's a ton on there. There's over 500 hours now, so check them out. Anyways, I will most likely be on later on tonight, but I'll be streaming playing video games with my wife. So if you want to check that out, check it out. Her channel is Gaming with Grace, and you can find that in the featured channels on my channel. And anyways, I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend, and I will most likely talk to you later. Hopefully tonight.